Hello, my name is Ace Baker. I write and produce music for film and television, and I'm also an expert in visual effects, and we're here in my studio in Southern California. I've been researching the events of 9/11 for the past 4 years. The horrific events of 9/11 burned a deep scar in the public conscience. Who can forget the day 19 suicidal Muslim terrorists hijacked planes and deliberately crashed them into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon? Who can forget when the Twin Towers collapsed under their own weight, overwhelmed by the intense jet fuel fires? Who can forget the outrage we all felt that day, knowing that 3,000 innocent people had been murdered in such a diabolic way? And all for what? All because a backward band of religious extremists were determined to destroy Western civilization? Is this story true? What on earth happened? The phenomena that we see on 9/11 are so powerful and so strange, it defies explanation. It will boggle your mind. I want to take you on my journey of discovery. I think you'll find it very interesting, but I warn you now. What you will see and learn may be disturbing and may upset and challenge your view of your government, your news media, and your world. But I ask you to watch because I believe that getting to the truth of what happened on 9/11 is the most important issue of our time. Let's begin by revisiting 9/11 the way most of us experienced it in the first place, through the lens of television news.
That the average life expectancy, as we know, for a cat or a dog is between 10 and 15 years, but that there's a new scientific breakthrough which could give your pet a longer life. And Dr. Carol Hurley, a veterinarian with the Waltham Center for Pet Nutrition in England, has developed what they're calling a kind of...
Absolutely the most amazing man that America has ever created, ever.
Okay, I have got to interrupt you right now.
Sorry.
Richard Hack, thank you very much. We appreciate the book is called Hughes. We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center, where I understand, do we have it? No, we do not. We have a breaking story, though. We're going to come back with that in just a moment.
I want to tell you what we know as we know it. We just got a report in that there's been some sort of explosion at the World Trade Center in New York City. One report said, and we can't confirm any of this, that a plane may have hit one of the two towers of the World Trade Center. But again, you're seeing the live pictures here.
As we come on air, we have serious news of a major possible air crash in the United States. A plane appears to have crashed into one of New York's tallest buildings, the World Trade Center.
There is one report, as of yet unconfirmed, that a plane has hit of the World Trade Center, and you can see that there is smoke there coming out.
It's 8:52 here in New York. I'm Bryant Gumbel. We understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. We have, I understand, an eyewitness on the phone right now.
It seemed to be like a small plane. I just heard a couple noises. It looked like it bounced off the building, and then I just saw a huge ball of fire on top
of Manhattan. We're trying to get people on the telephone to see what more we can learn. We have no idea if it was a plane. Was it in any sense deliberate? Was it an accident?
We don't know yet whether this was an accident, some sort of planned incident. We just want to show you this picture here, and we are trying to get some information.
It did seem to you that it was done on purpose?
You know, I don't know if I can say that.
Because I was just like standing there pretty much looking out the window. I didn't see what caused it or if there was an impact.
Don Dahler, ABC's Don Dahler, who is on the scene. Don, just give me some description again of what you can see now.
What we're seeing, it appears that there is more and more fire and smoke enveloping the very top of the building. And as fire crews are descending on this area, it does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
You did. That was out of
Yes, and that's the second explosion. You could see the plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen. So this looks like it is some sort of a concerted effort to attack the World Trade Center that is underway in downtown New York.
Let me just get a better look right now.
Okay, go ahead. We'll wait.
I'd say the whole takes about, looks like 6, 7 floors were taken out. And there's more explosions right now. Hold on, people are running.
Hold on just a moment. We've got an explosion inside.
The building's exploding right now. You got people running up the street.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll tell you what's going on.
Okay, just put Winston on pause there for just a moment.
Okay, the whole building just exploded some more. The whole top part.
Okay.
The building's still intact. People are running up the street.
You look at the picture from our chopper now arriving at the scene. Jim Friedel in Hoboken said it appeared to bank sharply and smash directly, perhaps purposefully, into, oh my goodness,
oh God,
there's another one. Oh my goodness, there's another one.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit. Right, oh my God, another plane has just hit. It hit another building, flew right into the middle of it. Explosion. My God, it's right in the middle of the building.
This one into the East Tower.
Yes, yes, right in the middle of the building. And right now, yes, that was definitely looked like it was on purpose.
Seems to be on purpose.
Oh my goodness, now it's obvious, I think, that there's a second plane just crashed into the World Trade Center. I think we have a terrorist act of proportions that we cannot begin to imagine at this juncture.
You saw a plane?
Yes, I just saw a plane go into the building.
Why do you say that was definitely on purpose?
Because it just flew straight into it. It didn't look like it was, and it didn't look like a commercial jet.
Oh my God.
My goodness. A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center. Obviously, suicide, terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. What we have been fearing. What we have been fearing for the longest time here apparently has come to pass. A disastrous terrorist attack on the World Trade Center.
About 10 minutes later, the second building went off. Did you see it? Yes, I saw it. It just blew up. A big explosion. People started running. It was just chaos everywhere. People jumping out. People just kept jumping and jumping and jumping. And you could still see they were alive because they were flailing around.
The FBI has already stepped in to investigate. It could be possibly a terrorist strike.
It could be. It could be because the first one went off and then 10 minutes later this just blew up out of nowhere.
Hard to think that would just be accidental.
No, I don't think it would be accidental.
Concerns about terrorism. Of course, the name Osama bin Laden was greatly mentioned.
Let's go to Florida. President Bush has a statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult moment for America. Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
That, of course, was President Bush, who is...
We have an urgent wire now saying another aircraft, unbelievably, has crashed into the Pentagon.
Folks, you are not going to see another day like this.
The initial assumption, this official said, was that this had something to do, or at least they were looking into any possible connections with Osama bin Laden. The administration recently released a warning that they thought Osama bin Laden might strike out against U.S. targets.
Obviously, this has all the appearances of an extraordinarily well-coordinated and devastating terrorist attack here in the United States.
The FBI Special Operations Center is now in full alert. The FBI extremely concerned that there would be additional attacks. Normally when you have a situation like this, they immediately get on the line with the CIA, the various intelligence agencies, trying to get a sense of who might have been planning something. But right now, the first order of business is to protect against a second attack, third attack. The feeling is normally when you have this kind of situation, there will be more attacks almost immediately.
Let's go to the trade tower again, because, John, we now have what do we have?
There has just been a huge explosion. We can see a billowing smoke rising, and I'll tell you that I can't see that second tower, but there was a cascade of sparks and fire, and now it looks almost like a mushroom cloud explosion.
Unfortunately, one of the worst fears that might have happened has come to pass. One of those towers, 110 stories, has apparently collapsed.
The entire building has just collapsed, as if a demolition team set off. When you see the old demolitions of these old buildings, it folded down on itself, and it is not there anymore.
That should be it.
Thanks very much, Dan.
It has completely collapsed.
The whole side has collapsed?
The whole building has collapsed.
The whole building has collapsed?
The building has collapsed.
That's the southern tower you're talking about.
Exactly. The second building that we witnessed the airplane enter had been, the top half had been fully involved in flame. It just collapsed. There is panic on the street.
We have no idea what caused this. If you wish to bring anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
Peter?
Yes, Dan.
What appeared to happen from my vantage point, the top part of the building was totally involved in fire, and there appeared to be no effort possible to put that fire out. It looked like the top part of the building was so weakened by the fire that the weight of it collapsed the rest of the building.
People who were affected by the absolute disintegration of one of those Twin Trade Center towers, the people who were unlucky enough to be below that, clearly devastated by this effect.
After the embassy bombings in East Africa, the Clinton administration waited about 10 days and launched a missile attack against the camps of Osama bin Laden, who they felt confident at that time they could say was responsible for it, and who's since been charged in it. In this case, I think this ratchets up.
Excuse me. This is the Pentagon we're looking at now, according to my monitor.
So there's parts of debris of airplane and stuff scattered along the road here. So, and then I just heard another explosion up there. So someone told me a airliner hit the building.
Trade centers here in New York have been hit by airplanes. In Washington, there is a large fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon has been evacuated. And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke. This is just a horrific scene and a horrific moment.
It's hard to put it into words, and maybe one doesn't need to. Both trade towers, where thousands of people work, on this day, Tuesday, have now been attacked and destroyed.
There was constant intelligence that terrorist organizations, and specifically that financed by Osama bin Laden, was trying to mount another series of attacks against the United States. Of course, they thought of the symbolic targets. The most symbolic was the World Trade Center because it had been attacked yet not brought down. And it seems that those concerns that even caused the World Trade Center to hire a senior FBI counterterrorism official just weeks ago to try and beef up security have come home to roost.
This is from Somerset County, Pennsylvania. This is where the United Airlines Flight 93, this was a Boeing 757 bound from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. It crashed in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, near the town of Shanksville.
But that's really all you see is a large crater in the ground and just tiny, tiny bits of debris there.
From my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual side of the building that's crashed in, and as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand. There are no large tail sections, wing sections, a fuselage, nothing like that anywhere around, which would indicate that the entire plane crashed into the side of the Pentagon.
Approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit, I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just ream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing, and indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job.
You're with them there. I mean, what are they saying tonight after this catastrophic attack?
There was a sense of panic. Our reports from the scene were of people just absolutely horrified. And I've already seen some photographs of that a man took down in the downtown area, and it looks like the aftermath of a huge atom bomb or something, just full of debris.
Now, here we're going to show you a videotape of the collapse itself. Describe that. Now we go to videotape, the collapse of this building.
It's amazing.
Amazing, incredible picture word. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
I grew up in England. I was in the Blitz during the war, and when I saw the devastation, I said, oh my God, it just looks like this all over again.
But why did these buildings collapse? Buildings that went up only 30 years ago, that should last for a century or more. It wasn't the explosion, the force of the two planes, structural engineers tell us. It was the heat. The flames there burned too long and too hot, rising above 1,500 degrees. It began to melt the steel. And the floors in the towers were connected to the steel skin on the outside. And as that steel literally melted, that floor gave way, fell on the next, and down they came. That was the structural failure. They were not built to withstand more than 1,500 degrees of heat caused by two planes fully laden with gasoline flying into them on this day here in New York.
Engineers suspect the temperatures inside the crash areas could have quickly reached well over 1,000 degrees, perhaps approaching 2,000 degrees, beyond the melting point of any steel. The heat would have obliterated the insulation around the structure, the fire suppression system. Once this happened, nothing could save the Twin Towers.
And were destroyed by the fact that this aviation fuel got loose and just, in effect, melted the steel.
Right.
That the people who worked on the building, architects and engineers, have told her that the reason this building crashed was not at all having to do with the, well, not directly having to do with the aircraft which hit it. They actually withstood that. It was not because their very low understructures collapsed as a result of the concussion, but ultimately collapsed because the steel on the top, which was exposed to such intense heat, largely the result of the aviation gasoline which went into that building along with the aircraft. The heat was so intense that the steel melted and the building began to collapse down unto itself from on top.
Brown, who spent 6 years building the towers from day one in 1966, says the planes didn't cause the towers to collapse, but rather the fire and tremendous heat that exposed the steel superstructure to forces it could not withstand.
Structural steel is fireproof to last between 1 and 2 hours, which it did, and then steel melts.
Look at these two cars placed on top of one another. I think when you think about the impact that these planes must have had, it's hard to visualize it because everything melted. But here, at least you have some remnants. You have literally an engine that is melded together with other parts of the car. Moving over, you've got another car they moved here. It looks like it's been through a war. You can see the papers, all the burned out papers from the building. You see the soot and the dirt, and it just shows you how devastating this blast was. Look across the street there. You've got a Con Ed truck that, you know, some of the Con Ed people now looking at, examining, trying to figure out which truck that actually was. But
for Evan Fairbanks, this is the image that will haunt him and us for the rest of our lives.
The image of that plane just coming out of nowhere, coming into the frame and disappearing into the side, into the south side of the tower, as if a floor had been hollowed out and it was a hangar that it was just landing in. We've seen these images in movies and we know that it's all artificial and Hollywood makes it.
You say you saw the first plane fall down. What can you tell me about that plane?
Well, I didn't recognize it as a plane at first. It looked to me like a charred piece of metal, and I had thought that there was an explosion from within the Trade Center. So I thought what I was seeing was a piece of the Trade Center falling because the sheath of the Trade Center is metal. But since I've learned that the first explosion was caused by a plane crashing into the tower, I've assumed that what I saw was a piece of fuselage that was falling, and the plume of flame I saw shoot out would be consistent with jet fuel exploding.
So you really have no idea of how large a plane the first one was?
No, I didn't even know that was a plane. I learned that from the news media.
Become the building and watch how the aircraft penetrates the building. Go ahead. Completely in one side and out the other.
It just disappeared. It disappeared like a bad special effect.
No second plane. It was a bomb. Bombed in the building, not second plane. It was a bomb. Who said the second plane?
That's what we're told, the second plane.
No,
we saw it on television.
I saw everything.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. The doorman goes to me, wow, I never seen a plane flying so low. And we looked out at it, all of a sudden, boom. It seemed like it wasn't even real.
We're so accustomed to violence on television. So accustomed. I mean, when the plane flew into one of the two towers which we saw before our eyes, you thought, well, you know, it's like the graphic artist, isn't it? So what we...
Interestingly tonight, Sam Nunn and Brent Scowcroft, two experts in this field from different political parties, both say that if we really want to stop terrorism, we have to sacrifice some of our cherished civil liberties.
You know what? Whatever we have to do to eradicate the country or the world of this vermin, I just hope Bush will do whatever is necessary to get rid of them.
The deliberate and deadly attacks which were carried out yesterday against our country were more than acts of terror. They were acts of war.
Bin Laden has been a known opponent of the United States for 8 years, and we have not exerted the kind of pressure we're capable of. This is an act of war against the American people, against freedom, as the president said, and I think we have to react on behalf, as we did in 1941 after Pearl Harbor. We have
Some senators have described this as a second
Pearl Harbor.
Taken to a secure location, but Republican Senator John McCain did make a statement. He says that these attacks are an act of war.
It'll take some time to determine who they are and who supported these attacks, but I think we'll find them out, and they will suffer the full measure of our justice. This is obviously an act of war that's been committed on the United States of America.
The front page of USA Today, act of war.
U.S. officials are already piecing together a case linking reputed Arab terrorist Osama bin Laden to today's attack. Bin Laden is believed to be living in Afghanistan and has been previously linked to terrorist attacks against Americans overseas.
Absolute disintegration of one of those Twin Trade Center towers.
Degrees. It began to melt
the steel melted terrorist organization.
Terrorist attack.
Of a huge atom bomb or something. Just.
There are no words.
Oh, it's hard to put it into words.
Huge atom bomb.
It's almost like a mushroom cloud explosion.
Absolute disintegration.
Good Lord.
Oh my God.
The steel melted.
That looks like a second plane.
Got loose and just, in effect, melted the steel.
With Osama bin Laden. They were acts of war.
Terrorist attack.
Financed by Osama bin Laden.
Arab terrorist Osama bin Laden.
Bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden was in fact.
We have to sacrifice civil liberties.
There's no evidence of a plane having crashed.
Oh, it's like the graphic artist, isn't it?
This is an act of war against